And I'm going to say something, and again, this is while we're still in the debate portion. And I know that some people like, no, John, you're wrong, you're lying, or you're misguided. This is, I'm K Hive to the day I die, biggest Harris fan around, but I'm a loyal Biden person. I don't necessarily think that the poll numbers are any different right now if Joe Biden's still in the race. I think the vibes are different. I think the vibes, the excitement, the something's happening, and I think that, and in many ways, that may have been, to the extent, you and I still don't know what went behind the scenes. I hope that we actually have some really good books 3 or 4 years from now telling us, the time between the time the debate happened and Biden dropped out. But I really truly believe that um, I don't necessarily, I think Harris is I think that I do think Harris is polling marginally better than Biden polled, but I think the difference is there's vibes. There's vibes, and those vibes are enough to. So I think that the numbers stay the same with, or stay kind of similar with Biden, but you don't see those new registrations with Biden. You don't see that energy and excitement. Biden might still have similar numbers, but Biden doesn't have sellout rallies. I think Biden's convention would have been good, but Biden's convention would not have been Kamala's convention. I don't think Little John comes to Biden's convention, and I don't think that Little John would have turned down Biden's convention. I don't think that Biden's convention would have thought, "Hey, let's do something crazy with this, with this roll call." So, when we look at at the debate, I do think that she'll do well. I Do you ever wonder with some of his craziness, and I've wondered this. I think that going into this, I think Harris has a distinct advantage going into the convention. But does Trump ever play possum? Does Trump ever go ahead and hustle us to where he comes off as batshit crazy going into the debate? Then he's gonna. I mean, you could sort of say that's what he did with Biden, but no, Biden had a brain fart, and don't let's not forget. But for that brain fart, the further we get away from that debate, people look at the transcripts, they look at the content. Biden still had a decent debate, a fair, from a content wise, stylistic, he fucking shit the bed. But I think that stylistically, content wise, he really wasn't that bad. So, do you think that while we're confident and feel good about the way that MVP Harris will do, especially in comparison to Trump. Is Trump hustling us, or do you think that and will Trump go ahead and show us some skills that we did not think he had, or do you think that he really is kind of cooked at this point as far as going head to head with someone like Vice President Harris?
A good question. It's a two-parter, right? As far as the debate, I the it's there's no way to win a debate, right? It's like a battle rap where it's just like your side is going to think you won, and your side, like, we still think Biden won despite him appearing to be a little bit slower, right? So we still think he won. Are we biased? Maybe, but the debates I don't think are about wins and losses. They're about landing attacks or driving narratives, right? Can Trump say something that sticks this time? Can he talk about the border? Can he talk about something with Kamala's record that actually sticks? Um, that's how he wins or she wins. With generally speaking, the debate, I don't think it's about. And this is, I'm surprised with. I don't know how you feel, but I'm surprised that the rules are still the same, right? Like, there's going to be no audience. The muted mics are back. There's going to be commercial breaks, et cetera, et cetera. I think that lends him better than it lends her because she needs to attack him a little bit and respond to him a little bit, and she's not going to have the opportunity. And remember, we thought it would help him because he would be on his best behavior. But I've always said this about Donald Trump. This is to answer your first question. He's not as dumb as people think. Now, is he book dumb? Yes. Does he know what a tariff is? No. Does he know where? Can he point out Afghanistan on a map? Probably not. Is he that dumb? Yes. But as far as the communication to the audience, he's nowhere near dumb. He's probably one of the single greatest kind of marketers that's ever existed, despite all his businesses being failures, right? There's smart people, John. There's very smart people in this country who think that Donald Trump is a successful billionaire who knows what he's doing with the economy. That alone tells me that he's smarter than people think he is, right? Now, as far as playing possum and stuff like that, I think because I wouldn't say he's playing possum, I would say he's playing um, I don't know how to describe it, but an animal that jumps from place to place and you can't quite get a hold of it. Because even remember, John, we didn't talk about this because we didn't have a pod last week, but he basically said he was for abortion to the point where IVF is fine and the government's going to pay for it. And he backtracked not 3 hours later, and the story didn't even stick. Like the story didn't even stick. He's a magician. That's what I'll say. He's not a possum. He plays magician, and he's able to kind of weave in and out of situations that don't stick with him. This week, I don't know if you saw this, just John. He had a rally, I think, 3 days ago, where he talked about the. He says the weave. I don't know if you saw this, where he says he purposely talks about 9, 10, 11 different things. He knows they're not all going to stick. He just needs one of them to stick. And that's why I think he's smarter than people realize. That stuff is purposeful. It's right out of a textbook, right? He's not stupid. He knows what he's doing. He's stupid in the literal sense that he doesn't know things. But as far as communication to the audience, he knows. And think about it, John. I told you this before. This is how smart he is. He doesn't have campaign offices really. He doesn't have money. Is a convicted felon who is found liable for rape, whose wife hates him and not on the campaign trail. His own vice president hates him. Picked the stupidest vice president ever, and he's still going to get over 70 million votes. Now, I know some of that's because racism and the patriarchy and all that stuff, but he knows he doesn't have to spend money because it's all built in for him, and he knows how to get it. So, yeah, I think he's smarter than people realize when it comes to that.
Yeah. Now, one thing and it's funny because as we record this on Sunday, it's the first Sunday of the NFL. We've already started with the opening game on Thursday. Then we had another game on Friday. But one of the things that I think, using the football analogy that applies to Harris, that I think is again an advantage she may have had over Biden, and potentially an advantage that she may have over Trump, is I do think that when you talk about these rules and strengths and weaknesses, I think unlike Biden, because of age and also being a prosecutor, I think Harris has the ability to audible. I'm not sure if Trump has the ability to audible. I agree with you that he might have good strategies or proven strategies that work, but I don't know. I think the biggest distinction between Harris and Biden and between Harris and Trump will be her ability to audible. So I don't think when they were going ahead and calling for the mics to stay open, um, they went ahead and they knew what they wanted to do there, but I don't think that their game plan was purely dependent on the mics being open. And I bet you they had a game plan and audible for, okay, if the mics are closed, this is what we're going to do. So I do think that between the age and you're right about Trump being smart, but we'll talk about it a little bit more later in the pod, but Trump has I do think from a cognitive ability standpoint, I do think Trump is bad. I think Trump is worse off than Biden. I think Biden's cognitive abilities are actually stronger. I think Biden has a communication problem. I think Trump's the flip side. I think Trump might still have a communication advantage, but I think cognitively he's probably way worse because you look at the mistakes that Trump makes versus the mistakes that Biden makes. You also look at the fact that oftentimes Biden makes a mistake and he would do what? Within 30 seconds he will correct it or understand, hey, loop, I said the wrong thing. Whereas I think Trump is just disillusioned and maniacal to a certain extent. Uh, I it's funny because they even say dementia Don. I don't think Trump has dementia. I think Trump literally is just it's like I know people with dementia, and people with dementia actually are pretty sound. They don't deal with stress well. They don't do a certain things well. But in the right environment, people with dementia are are good and decent folks. There's nothing good and decent about Trump. There's something about evilness, right? Uh, you know, uh, uh, again. and also a person with dementia, when they struggle, and they what's the word I'm looking for? They don't they're not quickly resilient, right? But they know that they're struggling with something. They know that they're having a hard time making something out of what have you. Trump doesn't acknowledge any of that. So I think that there's something different going on with Trump that's not dementia, even though people call him dementia Don.